when somebody is cloned, like LBJ, that's in your book 5. When LBJ is cloned, who's in the real body and who's in the clone?
Well, who are you?
It's not for me to say.
You don't even know who you are, so I'm supposed to figure out who's in the other body? It's always somebody else, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you the truth. All right, the truth be known. It's Frank. Frank's in the other body, okay?
Well, how do they program the clone to be so knowledgeable about the original?
Well, is it Memorex or is it live? The thing being is it's a duplicate. The body is just a machine, just like your computer. They duplicate them. Those are clones. They make the original and then they clone them, don't they? The bodies are the same way.
But is the person's real self in both bodies?
Well, are you in your computer?
Yeah.
Probably somewhere.
Oh, you are. All right, you're good. Well, that's like saying, are you in Sandy's body? Who's in Sandy's body?
It's a surprise.
Well, in Sandy's case, the porch light is on, but nobody's home.
So, you're going to have to deal with that now. But the thing is that we're all funny here. Yes, we are. We're just simply funny. So again, things are what they are. What is there something in a rock? It's all the same stuff. It's just taking a piece of clay and moving it however you want. See, when we ask those questions like that, it's from the personal self, and especially today, it's like techie. Okay, it's like, oh, how do they do this? Well, technology is a distortion. It's really what it is. All of creation is really a distortion because it's cause and effect. It really doesn't make sense with the whole of life, but it's just a process we go through. It's just like when we're little kids, we wear diapers. It doesn't make sense that we wear diapers our whole life, but then again, to some people it does. So, it's choice, but this is where you, recognize what you want your life and things to be, and etc. But and then you get past the personal self. So all these things that we're seeing here, we're so bombarded with technology. We're so bombarded with this distortion of things, and it pushes away just that part of the natural environment supporting us that makes sense, that has a better relationship in reference to the true reality life is. So now we're into distortion, thinking that this is going to equal something. So my guess, Frank's in the other body.
And who is Frank?
Who are you? Again, who are any of
us? Well, let me clarify the question. So, is there enough when you clone somebody? Is there enough of his lower self, his personal ego? Does that go with a clone body? And I mean,
well, that's all choice. Your awareness is everywhere. So, again, it's choice. It's the choice of the individual. If the individual doesn't know any better, then he's operating that body too. Again, it's agreement. You can agree to anything. This is how amazing life is. Again, we're seeing it from a one-dimensional point of view. In other words, your personal point of view, this is where you wonder about things, okay? But from your real awareness, when you see it, you see how it works, how creation is. It's just a fabrication, and your awareness is everywhere. So you can operate anything if you decide to. Once you become aware of how to do it, you see, just like you can drive a car, a truck, a plane, a boat. You see? Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't drive two airplanes at the same time.
Well, you think you can't. You see? See, there's your restriction right there. You can do anything, but you have to decide to do it. See, again, you've been taught to think a particular way.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
Yeah.
we had a friend, Laura Jean, that we really loved, and she was a CIA operative, and she gave us insight into a lot of the worldly things. And she always claimed that she was a walk-on, that she took over the body that she was in and was a walk-on, and was here to help humanity.
Okay.
And so somehow or another, she I never did figure out where she was from, but probably some other planet or
Well,
someplace.
those are previous experiences. So again, we're all from somewhere, but really what is life? See, now you realize the isness. So again, you decide. And so yes, your friend, she can say she's a walk-in or whatever, and what does that mean? I'm here to help humanity. In what way is that? When people say that, it's a little bit funny. You're saying, I'm here
Well,
to
that's
help
that's
humanity.
what we thought.
Yeah, help humanity do what? Have better houses and roads and be happy in the morning, have a good cup of coffee. Is that what you're doing here? What's the idea?
Well, what she did was she tried to help people become aware of how bad the government and everything was, that things were not as you thought they were.
Well, again, you look at David Icke and all these other people that are doing that, okay, but they have no real relationship or real resolve um, by providing that information. And that's why a lot of people don't want to hear it. My relationships, my past ones, they don't want to hear this stuff because, see, they don't see past their personal self. So once you have that information, you might say you're responsible for it. You're stuck with it. All of a sudden, and now it's like, oh, gee, when you really accept it, I mean, you're always looking over your shoulder because, again, it's like, and you can't get away from. Okay, so you know about the government, you know about the bankers and whatever. Okay, so then what do you do? Now that you know about it, hey, they're still in business of running the world, and they can come and get you anytime. What are you going to do? Huh? Are you going to barricade yourself in an underground bunker, etc.? And have rifles and stuff ready in case they come and get you? You see, again, yeah, this is two edged here. There's two sides of the coin when you're investigating these things. That's one thing. Yes, to know where you're at. Okay, this is the idea of this with your real awareness, is to realize and wake up to where you're at instead of unconsciously agreeing to it. But at the same time, if you don't recognize where you're at, where you're still just stuck here, then that's not good. And so what's the alternative? You believe in God, or you believe in the saviors or whatever. Is that the alternative? See? So again, this helping mankind do what? I know people that have UN projects with the housing and stuff like that. They think they're helping people. They're not. They're just making them dependent. That's all they're doing. They're not showing them how to be free with their real awareness, recognizing the is. Nobody does that. So there's a difference. So without what we're presenting, then the individual just keeps recycling within himself, thinking that, oh, I know this and whatever, and you be the secret agent. Yeah, it's fun to play that to a certain point, till you really get old, till you can't move anymore. And then what? Then you're stuck with yourself because that's all you know. So again, you need what we are presenting. I've always called it the real cure for all, and that is that Yeah, and without it, you just recycle in your own in these things that have been created in creation. This is what people really don't see, is that because things have been established, so they think that this is the only reality there is, but they don't look back to where at one time it did not exist at all. We have history and relationships, but again, people are so adamant with the present time and gee, what's next with the technology and what is it going to do, and oh, we can do this or that, but they really just get more lost in cyberspace because there's no resolve with it at all. It's just collecting created things. Now with your real awareness, when you're objective about that, then creation is fine because you're not stuck in it. There's a difference. So this is what we're trying to do, is show people how to unstick themselves. But for the most part, they like their attitudes and they want to stay stuck. So that's a choice. So we are just on our adventure. And so these bodies and all this cloning stuff, it's nothing new. It's just they have learned how to do that, just like they mass produce computers or cars. It's all the same thing. Yeah.
Well, I was just curious about who was home, you know.
Well, it's interesting. It's like, we get these phone calls from these robots now, okay? And they sound just like real people. And I see my personal self even being, I see the ideas of the personal self relating to these robots like they're real people. Because they're so good at what they do. And so the clones are like that too. The technology is there that it looks really good, you see. And what the public is getting, where they're making robots, okay, this becomes the difference. So people don't recognize the clones. They're thinking in terms of technology. They're being shown through the news and that, oh, we're making these robots, and this is how they are. They're all clunky and metal and stuff. So people are thinking in those terms, when realistically the clones are the same, but they look like humans, just like these voices on the telephone. These marketers, they mainly use voices now, so they don't have to hire people. It's all robotic, and they sound just like people, you see. So who's behind that? Who's on the switchboard? Yeah.
I know how to stymie those robots. You ask them, are you real, or are you a computer? And then they kind of block on that question.
Well, the thing is that so you're confronting them with what they are. You see, it's just like the knowledge you have of the government. You're simply confronting the government with what it created and decided, and you're thinking that you're smart now because you figured out what they're doing, and so you confront them with it. Well, they just laugh because they're not interested. So this is where you create a new position that makes sense, and then if you need to utilize those things as vehicles, that becomes the difference. But otherwise, you just stay lost in confrontation that equals nothing. You just go back and forth trying to see who's the smarter one. You think you're smarter because you figured out what they did? Is that it? See, again, there's the personal self, and where are you going with that? It equals nothing, except it just keeps you in cause and effect creation. But if there's a way you can utilize it, okay, according to what we're doing, that makes sense, okay, that becomes different. So the robots are fine. The robots are fine. We'll utilize. Your car's a robot, okay? Yeah, you put it in drive, it's a robot. Yeah, you utilize it, okay? But you don't make your life a car. It's not all about the car. It's just a thing. And so this is where you become more aware through creation. This is where you need creation. At the same time, you take on the adventure to do something, to have a real purpose instead of just, the basic way of seeing things. Okay? So according to the world, but seeing what's going on in the world and utilizing that for a real reference. The world just implodes upon itself. It just keeps going back and forth like a washing machine, thinking that it's getting somewhere. No, it's all the same creation. But as we step into this and we start to refer to something else, recognizing what's behind all of creation, which is in creation too, which is your real awareness. Yes, we're all in the same life, but we are what each one of us decide to be, you see? So again, this is where, you went through the corporation and all that. Yeah, we all went through it to see it, but is it working? Does it relate to anything? No, it doesn't. It's a business. It just relates to the business world. These things relate to the business world. The gods of man are businessmen. They're not what people think. They're businessmen. Yes. And so you can go to the astral worlds and be all fluffy and fly around. Well, you're still in creation. You're still really in the business world. Interesting, isn't it? So again, your real awareness, this is not really responded to for the world because it can't identify with it. It can only identify with the thinking and feeling part of itself, which those are vehicles too. And yes, they do imply, but realistically, they're just vehicles. There's no life in them. Your real awareness and recognizing that, what the is, that becomes the difference, and how you use creation to relate to that. How can, from all that experience that you've gained, how can you bring that around to where it makes sense with the whole of life, not just in creation alone?
Well, thank you, Duane.
So that's a moment by moment thing, isn't it? So
yes,
yeah. So the fun part is that when you really recognize to live now, being now, you will see these things and you'll have a lot more fun with it because your real awareness is only now. It's not in time and space, but you've been taught to think that you're in time and space. See? That's the momentum of things that keeps you going into future lifetimes. This is where they get people to chase something that momentum makes you go into future lifetimes, you see. But when you're now, you recognize what's going on, and you've just, you might say you've eliminated all that, and then you learn to see everything and how it works, and then you can have real fun in creation relating to the true reality life is. A lot better than what we've been through.